The National Day rally, seen as the most important political speech of every year. And in this year's rally, Prime Minister Loong revealed several new initiatives from a modular package for young seniors to a shake-up to our public housing model. Lots to catch up on, so let's get to the point with Deputy News Editor Grace Ho. Managing COVID-19 has been one of the central themes of his speech in the past few years, and PM Lee also started this year alluding to the pandemic. But on a more positive note, as life has returned to normalcy, Grace, what's the one word to describe his speech on Sunday?
That word has to be reassurance, and we all know how much of it we need this year, what with the spate of political scandals, persistent inflation, concerns over the prices of housing and food. And so the Prime Minister gave reassurance in basically five broad buckets. The cost of living, fair and affordable housing, jobs and skills, aging and retirement adequacy, as well as political integrity and succession. His speech covered everything from bread and butter issues to more existential ones like political integrity.
So, from the launch of the modular package to extend help to the aging, to substantial changes in the area of housing, how will Singaporeans feel the impact of these changes?
What I found interesting about the modular package was this component called Earn and Save bonus, where lower and middle income workers will get a CPF bonus of up to $1,000 a year, so long as they are working. And this is regardless of whether it's full-time or part-time employment. We've all been exhorted to make cash top-ups of CPF, to enjoy the benefits of compounding interest and to build up our retirement savings. But for lower income workers, it's difficult enough to stay afloat from month to month, let alone plan ahead, about topping up the CPF. So it's a huge relief that there is this automatic mechanism that depends on them being employed, and it doesn't place the burden on the individual to make top-ups themselves. The other big chunk of the speech was on reclassifying mature versus non-mature estates to standard plus and prime housing. Now, this is more sensitive to the specific attributes of each new BTO project, whether it's in terms of proximity to the MRT stations or amenities. These plus flats will cost more, and owners will face restrictions, when they try and sell it off. They also have a 10-year minimum occupation period. And it does make sense because the line between mature and non-mature estates has been blurring for some time now. I grew up in Jurong, and even though today is classified as a non-mature estate, to be honest, it certainly felt like a very mature estate to me. So therefore, reclassifying these flats to be less associated with their locational attributes gives Singaporeans a better sense of their intrinsic value, especially those that are outside of the city centre. But how will it affect the housing market? Well, first of all, I think Singaporeans who don't want to commit to a longer MOP will shift to the HDB resale market, or they might buy older resale condominiums. So what will happen to the demand and prices on that end? And second, for those who still plan to buy the plus flats, it really means digging in for the long haul. Because if you think about it, it's not just a 10-year MOP, but also that, 4 years or so it takes to build a BTO before that. So in other words, you have to think really carefully about the schools your future kids plan to go to and what you plan to do in that area. And third, it could prolong Singaporeans' upgrading journey from an HDB to private housing for those who are so inclined. But finally, there's also more inclusive housing for singles and seniors. So eligible singles will be able to buy 2-room BTOs from the HDB in all locations instead of just non-mature estates. And this helps those who want to live near their aging parents or closer to their workplace. As for seniors, having a wider range of fittings, from wider toilet doors to foldable shower seats, will help them to age in place safely.
PM said his succession plans are on track. Grace, what does he mean by this, especially in light of recent political controversies?
Well, the PM noted in his speech that there have been several controversial issues involving ministers and MPs, which have caught Singaporeans' attention. And what comes to mind, of course, are the arrest of Transport Minister S.S. Waran, the resignations of Speaker of Parliament Tan Chuan Jin and MP Cheng Li Hui over an extramarital affair, as well as allegations of preferential treatment in the rental of bungalows, by two ministers. So to some people, this slew of scandals might instinctively be a reason to say, okay, let's delay the succession plan from PM to DPM Lawrence Wong and his team of 4G leaders. But the Prime Minister's point was that each of these issues has been dealt with thoroughly and transparently. So, for example, in the case of the affair, both the Speaker and the MP have resigned. In the case of the rental of black and white properties, the allegations were in the end found to be untrue. So PM Lee was giving the reassurance that the timeline for leadership renewal is not affected, it's still on track. Now that part is very clear. What's also clear is that he has no plans to call an immediate election, because when he was asked by the media in July, whether vacant seats in Parliament would lead to, the change in timing of the next GE, he said, no, there's no plans for an immediate election. Now, what's not so clear is whether that handover will take place before or after the next general election, which is due in 2025.